51. Chapter 5. The sea. 3 days later, they arrived to the beach that has some rocky formation here and there. She bathed and cleans her dress, Lem swims, and she was surprised by that. I never suspected anyone could not go into the deep by only moving their arms, she said. All you have to do is to move the extremities and take air at intervals. He teaches her. They also unearthed mollusks from the sand, and eat. There were hundreds by the shoreline, with nobody in sight. This water is cold. We must be away from the equator, he mentioned. Lem also notices that there were no tides, with the lack of a big satellite going around the planet, and also realized the coast runs for north to south, and remembering his captivity by the evil pirates, he decided to go south, in order to avoid them. Ellipsis points. Meanwhile, at Perigornes' palace, the Earthwomen were still untouched by their captor. At first they were very worried to become prostitutes, but with the passing of time, they realized Perigornes only have sexual intercourse with the ones asking for it. They have attended numerous dinners where captains and crews were present, but not intermingled. They stayed at a side room enclosed by curtains that blurred figures into a blurred. After one of those ceremonies, the governor told them all, in acute accents, time for you to see the wonders of space. We have 2 new ships in orbit, too big to land. I must go there and inspect them. And not to deprive you of my gracious presence, I will carry you with me. Some of the women have heard of terrible battles in space, so they were afraid to step into a spaceship, but others not, as the ex-crew members of the Captáin Furosemido spaceship. Guess in acute accents our chance to leave this life. We can escape in a spaceship, Jolly Marnoth said. Are you sure? Lamia and I are only nurses. We have no knowledge on how to drive a spaceship, Odine said. They were in a corner of that ample saloon, with the rest of the women talking or sleeping. No need to learn now. I can drive a spaceship. Obviously these pesky pirates have robbed those ships from our conundrum. We will find nothing new to us. What do you say, Varina? Jolly Marnoth asked of Varina, who replied, certainly possible. But we cannot escape with a big spaceship. Well, we must see, if we are going to roam free by the spaceship or not. If not, we must try to escape in a safe boat. At least we escaped from our present situation of future horrors, Jolly said. Yes, who knows, when Perigornes will get tired to wait for us to beg for his sexual intercourse. He could send us to hydroponics or who knows where, Odine said. At the next day, the governor and his harem went into a small craft and ascended to the orbit. There they could be witness of one of the 2 new acquisitions of the pirate fleet, a cargo spaceship 500 meters long, 100 meters wide. There were noticeable war battle marks on its hull, big scratches, dents and missing turrets, some of them half gone. The shuttlecraft docks with the big ship and Perigornes went out with his men, leaving the girls waiting, as he previously told them. 53. Chapter 5. The spaceship. What are we waiting for? Is he to left us in this shuttle? And as Odine asked. Wait. Have patience. Men are strange creatures, Jolly Marnoth said. Perigornes was directed to Captain Furosemido, the one who captured the cargo spaceship. He was an old man, bald but with the energy of a bull. He was looking on charts, when Perigornes enters the wide cabin. Welcome to 15. How are you, Captain Furosemido? Perigornes asked him. Fine, and look what I brought. A whole cargo ship full of merchandise. Millions upon millions of credits here. Plus the ship itself, of course. Furosemido said. Congratulations. I see that you have guts. Must have been a fiery fight. Perigornes said, looking around. Many consoles of control, quality screens, and indicators blinking. Ellipsis points. Yes. A fiery fight. This cargo spaceship has missile launchers, and even 8 laser cannons that give us headaches. But here it is. Wholly ours. Captain Furosemido said, spinning on the floor. And what about the crewmen? Are they safe? Perigornes mildly asked. safe floating in the black yonder, Governor. I throw them out by the airlock. They did fire on us, so they get what they deserve." Captain Sheelanen remarked grilly, knowing that Perigornes love slaves and not corpses flying in deep space. Points of course. "I suppose that engines are working?" Perigornes asked. "Yes, the main engines brought us here. Only that there are minor damages, as I was sending them not buckets of flowers, you understand what I mean." Captain Sheelanen growled. 54, I imagine, and as well. Show me a decent quarter for me and my guests." Perigornes demanded. "Of course, Governor. I have seen some nice cabins at the second bridge. Come along," Captain Sheelanen said, and using an elevator, they arrived to the second level, where the captain of the spaceship uses to have his quarters. "Fine quarters. Sorry the mess. My men are so greedy that were here before I could. But the furniture acute accent's all right. Nothing that a good vacuum cleaner cannot brush away," Captain Sheelanen insinuates. Perigornes said to one of his men, "Gonzalo, go fetch my women here." "Yes, sir," the tall man said, stomping out of the room. Perigornes added, "Have you some gold ingots, silver bars, or jewels taken from the enemy?" "Not find any, Governor. Not a single coin." "Well, some coins were extracted from some original crewmates from this ship. But didn't acute accent amount to 100 credits? As I said to you before, the cargo is still at the holds." Captain Sheelanen replied. "Good. We acute accent LL talk about it later," Perigornes said, and seats in a chair, while Captain Sheelanen departs. Soon afterwards Gonzalo returns with the women, saying, "Here they are, Governor. Safe and sound." "All right, Gonzalo. Takes my men to the nearest cabin and waits there. Take some of them to revise what is on the holds. If someone asks you who give you authorization, tell him it was me," Perigornes recommended. 60, looking at the damsels, he said, "Guess you must clean this place. You deserve a clean cabin to stay at ease." Odine said, "It will be hard work." And he signaled to the floor, where many objects were laying broken or dismantled, and he departed out. They relocate furniture, tend the beds, and after 1 hour of work, nobody could say it was in disarray. The idea was to find a treasure. They knew this big cabin corresponded to a captain. The bigger well-located one. But seems whatever was in here, now the acute accent's gone. Odine mentioned. Jolly Marnoth added, "We could search, too. Men are so clumsy I guess they cannot find a gold nugget in a platter. They entertain themselves trying to find some treasure that was not in there." Some hours later the governor returns and after a shower, said, "Well, I expect you have an acute accent been bored too much." "No. We were looking the appliances and then we looks at the screen you can't see outside the spaceship with it," Odine explained. "Good. Now I will tell you what are we going to do tomorrow." 56, tell us. You always makes life exciting. Odine cooled an acute accent to refrain herself to say. "Oh, good for that. We will go riding a shuttle around the cargo ship. We will see the dents on its hull, the cannons it have, and all," Perigornes said. They clapped hands and they went to bed. Odine cooled an acute accent to refrain herself, and offered her body to the governor, who received her willingly. The rest of the girls were surprised for this, but in their inner selves comprehends the desire of the flesh, as they too were deprived of sexual contact, since day one on planet of the pirates. At the next morning, they climbed in one of the original shuttles of that cargo ship, and with 5 other crewmates in charge of the driving, they made a tour around the big spaceship. "Look! A dent on the thrusters. Lucky the missile cold an acute accent to go deeper, or the craft would have stopped," Lamia commented. "Or perhaps it was repaired," Perigornes said, as he received more information when talking with the pirate crew. 2 hours they were traveling and then returns to the cargo ship interiors. Perigornes guided them to the recreation chamber, where many games were in disposal of the original crew, when not on duty. All kind of games. Surely you have played, sometimes before being recruited? Perigornes asked. The ladies said they have played at their times on school. Pity I am not expert in games. In my youth I knew only of work and more work. Perigornes said, seating in an armchair, while they played. A crewman come to ask him to be at the main cabin, so Perigornes said, I will leave you here, to entertain yourselves. Ask for a crewman to guide you to our cabin when wished. 57. When alone, Lamia said, here we have an option to get away. We can take a safe boat and descend on the planet. It acute accent is huge, and these people will never find us. Odine said, to descend in a dinosaur-plagued planet. I prefer to work at hydroponics. But think a little. After Mr. Perigornes get tired of us, we will end at hydroponics, but after that, I am afraid we end into the hands of the crewmen. Jolly Marnoth said. You don't acute accent know that. Perigornes seems to be quite a gentleman, besides he is the governor. Odine said. Well, an acute accent you forgetting he acute accent is also a pirate? Jolly asked, with an acid smile of content. After an hour later, they returned to the cabin, and bedded to sleep. They stayed at the cargo spaceship for 5 days, and then Perigornes said, Ladies, I will stay here for some more days, but you are going to my palace. Wait for me there. I have already given orders to attend you as before. And so, they climbed into a shuttlecraft, and when nearing the pirate city, the shuttle began to fail. The pilot sent notice of it towards the cargo spaceship and also to the women. You must strap to your bed. We are going to land in a forest. The pilot said by loudspeakers. The shuttle crashed against the top of some trees, turns around and after a swift slide of a couple of 100 meters, stops at a beach. The waves were only 80 meters away. After the concussion, the women recovered their senses and after struggling with the airlock, they went out. Oh, my back aches. Odine said. And my head buzzed. Jolly Marnoth said, looking ill and soon afterwards she threw up over the sand. 58. Let acute accent run away. We get what we wanted. Varina said, grabbing Jolly acute accent's hand. They walked a few paces, but Odine doesn't acute accent move. Odine. What are you doing standing there? Let acute accent run away. Lamia said. She denies with a movement of her head and said, I acute accent am staying. You can go. But why? Because of Perigornes? It acute accent is a bloody pirate. Lamia yelled back. I will wait for a rescue party. Certainly there is a beacon calling for help right now. Bye. Odine said, getting inside the crashed shuttle. Well, Varina, let acute accent go. She has chosen already. Lamia said in haste. They walked to the forest, and then saw 2 persons looking at them from a distance. Look. Natives. Jolly said, stopping. The rest wait for those 2 persons to come near, and Lamia said. Hey. It acute accent Devianco and some other person. What? Lamia exclaimed, amazed. Lem embraces them one by one, saying, we saw how the spaceship was trying to land. How are you? Barely alive. And who acute accent is this person you are walking with? Varina asked, looking at Odine. Now she is my woman. A native all right. She has been of great help. Lem informed. Are you living with natives somewhere? We escaped but we need to walk away from here. The pirates certainly will search for us. Jolly explained. 59. All right. Let acute accent walk away, but I tell you, we are a couple of nomads, no tribe no nothing. Think it over. You at least have shelter and food with those pirates. With me, you will have hardships. Lem said, who don acute accent to want later recriminations. The women looked one another and said, we don acute accent to want to return with the pirates. All right for me. Let acute accent keep on. Lem said, taking Odine by the hand and guiding Lamia, Varina and Jolly into the jungle. As before, there were scant animals and scant fruit trees, so that night there was no dinner. but at least a hut, where they slept all together, among the snoring of Lem and jolly Marnoth. Early at the next morning, they were awakened with the muffled snoring of a beast. It was a Uninosaurus eating plants and herbs some 80 meters away. They were astonished with his presence, and Varina said, in acute accent, "S huge, and walks in 2 legs." The Uninosaurus was 7 meters long, and 4 meters tall. For precaution, they leave the field immediately. "That dinosaur is extinct in outer world, Earth planet," Jolly commented, still pale with fright. "I assume this planet is traversing the Jurassic era," Lem explained. "But how do you explain the presence of your mate? She should be millions of years in the future," Jolly said. 60, well, I am not a biologist, but I assume she come from another planet, just like the pirates and ourselves," Lem replied. "They found a creek teeming with fish, and they catch 3 of them. Feet of the women, who captured them with their hands under the direction of Odine. They fried it in a fire with stones around it. This meat is wonderful. Well, better than the meat of those tin cans on board the cargo spaceship," Lamia said. "Tin cans? Pirates have an acute accent. Tin can factories. They only know how to steal and murder," Lem said, munching that fish meat. "I assume that one of us women forgets her manners and preferred to stay with a pirate," Jolly Marnoth said. "Are you referring to Adana?" Lamia asked. "Of course. Who else? And I wonder if she still is waiting for a rescue," Jolly said. Lem gets interested and asked, "I guess in acute accent S too soon for a rescue party. It only has been there for half a day and a night. Who knows? Perhaps Perigornes sent another shuttle to the rescue," Jolly Marnoth said. "We acute accent LLC about that but not today. Those pirates, especially their chief, must be eager to take them all under his grip," Lem said, and he was right. In that precise moment the second shuttle was landing near the crash site, and Perigornes' men were running towards the damaged shuttle, giving yells of incredulity. Adana steps out of the ship, and some others followed, most of them injured after the descent. Perigornes receives her near the recently landed shuttle. "Adana, how nice to see you in good health," he said, and Adana embraces him, crying. Then she told him about the other women prefers to risk their lives going into the wilderness instead of to be with him. Perigornes puts a bad face and said, "Nobody runs out on me. I will find them, dead or alive," and sent his men into the jungle, saying, "Don't acute accent come back without them." 61. The 5 men heavily armed walks into the woods, expecting to get them in a fortnight. Lem, at that hour of the day, was preparing a makeshift tent, to sleep the night away. Odine and Lamia were helping him. "I am having a bad feeling, Lem. Something bad is going to happen," Odine said, after they finished the work. "Why? We are in a safe place. We have an acute accent seen carnivores here," he replied. "In acute accent a strong feeling of impending doom. We better stand guard tonight," Odine said. Lem thinks about hunches and said, "Well, if they are an acute accent dinosaurs could be Perigornes pirates. Or Alfrenko and the tribesmen. Could be both perils at once," Odine figured out. Seeing that she was real worried, Lem stands guard almost all night, with her helping. They saw several Colossus and 2 men passing by and then dawn comes, without any visible bad thing. The women collect some eggs from unknown birds, and roasted them near the fire, while Lem and Odine slept at the tent. They were awake all night, caring for us all. "Now we must search for fruits," Lamia said. 62. At noon, Perigornes' men stumbled on the tent, and finding Lem and Odine asleep, they awake them, and Bagoner, their chief, asked, "Who are you and your woman? You seem not to be an aborigine." "I am Lem from Earth planet. This woman is my wife now, and certainly in acute accent as an aborigine," Lem said, looking at those 5 men, obviously pirates by their arrays. "I remember some Earthmen working at the mine. You must be one of them." Allegra, you and Castrino will know what to do with them. Bagona ordered. They tied Lem by the wrists, while Odine was looking. What about the native woman? Allegra asked. She is not of our kind. Ignore her. Bagona said, spitting on the ground. That was a mistake, because Odine pretends to flee, but afterwards she was following Lem and his captors, and halfway to the crash site, she throws stones onto both men and Lem finished them giving kicks on their heads, and finally tying them to a tree trunk using their own garments. Odine said, take their weapons. There are more pirates on the loose. And they return to the hut. She looks on the ground, saying, "It a cute accent s easy for me to trail them, wherever they went. With that boots, there is no room to miss." And smiled to Lem, who said, "Possibly they are trying to find the women. Let a cute accent s move on." For 2 hours they walked fast and then they heard 2 shots. They run to the source of the explosions, and saw 3 pirates trying to rape 2 of the women. Lem fired and 2 of the men fall down. The third fired against him but failed when Odine threw him a well-directed stone. Although her stone didn't acute accent he killed the pirate, did smashed his testicles, making the pirate yells and jump, so Lem fired against and the pirate ends on the ground. The 2 women were now crying with their torn clothes hanging down. One of them said, "Thanks. You saved us in the nick of time." But Jolly runs away. We must find her. And it was Varina, who was trying to find her shoes among the bushes and Lamia just stared at the corpses. "Which way she goes?" Lem asked, and they signaled. Lem and Odine began walking towards it, with Varina and Lamia following. Half an hour later, they saw a figure walking among the trees. "There she is," Varina said, clapping her hands. Jolly turns her head towards them and after some seconds of hesitation, she approaches, saying, "I am sorry that I ran away without waiting for you too." But there was no way to fight those men with bare hands. They embrace each other, while Odine searches for eggs in the long grass. Lem throw his maze, killing a rodent 2 kilograms in weight. That night they slept into a shack 2 kilometers away. "Guess we don't acute accent need guards. We will be awake until late," Jolly said, as they were talking about their past life under the governor. Acute accent care. "The man was not mean unto us. He doesn't acute accent he forced us to do any mean task or sexual activities," Jolly said. "But Adana was in love with him. She refuses to come with us," Varina commented. "No wonder. She doesn't acute accent he wanted to be among carnivores, dinosaurs or to be bitten by flying insects. Hunger for blood," Jolly said, remembering Adana acute accent reasons. Notwithstanding Jolly acute accent words, Lem and Odine mount guard at the entrance of that shack, just in case of peril. They didn't acute accent want to get separated again. "What do you think Perigornes will do when his 5 men didn't acute accent return?" Odine asked. "I guess he will send more of his men to the rescue. Possibly they find the corpses. Perhaps not. In both cases, Perigornes will not love to stay in such a dangerous place and he will end up returning to the cargo spaceship, as like Jolly said, there is much to plunder from its holds. Lem replied, while thinking in what to do with 4 women in a jungle. At the next day they walked by the forest until noon, and after a respite of 2 hours lying on the turf, they walked towards the shore, where they did 4 clams to eat. "Nice. It tastes as a desert," Odine said, slurping those mollusks. Suddenly, Lamia yelling, pointing to the sea, a figure was coming ashore, pushed by the waves to the sandy beach. "It acute accent some kind of animal. Don't acute accent be afraid," Lem said, and walking into the water, he pushed it to the dry sand. "It acute accent some kind of dinosaur," he said, but when looking at the girls, he saw an expression of horror in their faces. "It acute accent a Gorolos," Lamia finally said, and she tells about what they saw at the Perigornes camp. Lem looked at the creature, saying, "So, they must be able to swim. Or he would acute accent be here." The women looked to the sea in panic, and Lamia said, "We better are going. These animals are hard to die and they are furious creatures. Ellipsis points could be more and not as bad as this one." 65.